Hello, this is Carlos and this is my status report for this week. So, I spent the last week working on the project because I thought that we were supposed to do it. So I have an extra week of work on it. So during last week, I spent a lot of time thinking about what changes I should include in the project, and I spent most of the week making some changes to the documentation, how it was organized, and where everything was placed, because depending on the configuration I will get different results and different outcomes, and sometimes difficulties when scaffolding the different projects. So I moved to this approach where every time I create a new project, I just place a new folder with docs and all the related onboarding documentation in this folder. Everything the user should know, the user who's using the template, it's here and only here. On the docs top level, I have more general and probably temporal documentation that I'm using right now. In the top level, README file, which is the first one that we'll see in the repository, they will see this information. Let's take a look to the actual repository. This is the main one. As you can see, I have this placeholder for a cover that I'm going to include in this repository, and I have a short description of the content. Right now I have this one project and versions for Netcore and Angular. They're finished, they're usable, but Identity API is not implemented there. Now I'm moving, and it's working right now. I migrated. This is one of the things I work on during these days. I move forward the projects to Netcore 10, and it's working as I said, and I will be moving Angular to 20. And right now I'm working in the identity implementation for Netcore 10. So from here the user can access the idea, because it's the main branch. The idea is for the user to access to the different templates versions. So right now I am working on this branch, and I've included this new idea for extending the actual project to the inclusion of other architectures. I will work on this in the future. Now, right now, probably I'm going to also do something for clean architecture, or maybe also to hexagonal architecture, or for something else. As far as I know, those are the main most common used architectures in Netcore projects. So as far as now, I'm capable of scaffolding this project, which has no content really. It's only the README file, and as I did before, last semester I'm able of implementing the entire template and it works. Also, I change the level of the projects from the top level in the template to a source folder only, which is I found is more friendly. Also, I will working on the migration of this file because the new one is solution X. This one is only solution. Probably the X is for 10. So what else? Let me see. I have some notes here. I had some problems with the Angular project, which took me a couple of hours and maybe days to fix. Also, as I said before, I made some changes, big changes I would say, to the documentation. We can navigate there really quickly. So let me see, not this one but the one for the templates. The user should be presented with this file. Probably I need to include some changes here. This is the top level for the scaffolded solution and projects, so the user should be moving to this one, and this one is the main one for the project. The idea is for them to being able to keep this onboarding folder, onboarding folder and files, so they don't have to delete it. They can include other folders and other files in the docs folder. So from here they will have all the information they need, and they have this organized content with the architecture and everything you can read here. This is from the previous semester. Is everything pretty well organized on what they need to have and do. Probably I still need to polish it, but I will working on that later. Development setup, that's a common problem people has. When you're trying to set up the environment, this one for Angular is really useful, especially in NetCore, because it uses a lot of files, and even in dependency just for launching the Angular app in parallel to the NetCore server application. Looks like it's a problem here. I have some identity documentation. Probably I'm going to reduce that. This seems to be like a server problem, because I do have those documents on my machine. That's just for your reference. Now going to the actual application. Let's close all those tabs. This is the application as you know it. The Contasso example, it's working entirely as you already know. and I included some new controllers to the project entirely, which I took from the actual repository for the framework. This is something I was able to find, which is really interesting because here you can see all what a netcore can do, or as they call it, just ASP.NET Core. This is something I'm going to study in the future for sure. And here's the information for identity. As you can see, there's a lot of information here related to the API, which I will read in the future for sure. And the interesting part for me is this one for samples, because here I have well structured actual applications implementing the API. I have one for REST API, and I have another one for MVC, which is the type of project that I'm building, and some other folders which I don't know what is the content. I will take a look to those later, but for now the MVC one is the one that I'm interested in. I want to talk a little about the controllers, models, and views, which are the one I use. I adapted the content of them to my project, and I just adapted them as they are because I had two options when taking. Okay, this is annoying, this problem with the files. So I had two options. The first one, which is the one I took, it was to take the files as they are, the controllers I mean, and take them to my MVC layer, which is what I did. This is my MVC layer. I have my controllers there. As you can see, I have both of these controllers, account and manage. Which are these controllers here. I took them to my application as they are. And the second option was to move the entire logic from every controller to my service layer, which honestly is something I could do, but I prefer not to, just for the sake of my maintainability. And so I would be able to make the code and the entire projects less cumbersome, because otherwise it would be adding a couple of abstractions that I really would not need to have. So these controllers, which are exclusive to the identity API, they connect directly to the data layer. The idea also is for the users to be able to compare really quick any difference they may notice between what they have here and what they can find in the official examples, which are these, which for me the idea is to use them as the main reference for my own project. I also took a similar approach to the views of the project, I was able to take all the information they had in the account folder, which works with the account controller, and also the manage views. The only changes I included to the original files was using AI, was adapting the files to newer versions of Bootstrap 5.3, and also with the models. I have account view models, manage view models. All the information from the original folder, which is this one, is there. I still need to better look to some of the files, but for the most part, everything I need is here. Then I also included information from the previous version of the project, which I was using to handling information about the users, which ended up being really useful. I was really lucky of having done that, because I was able to reuse a lot of code I have already done. So when I try to log in, right now I'm having this problem of not being able to log in with the users I create, but they work. I just need to fix that. Also, I will in the future hide this information from this unauthenticated view using roles and claims and some of those other permissions that the API uses for displaying elements in the page, for rendering those elements. Both of them are publicly available, especially this Contaso University one, but not so administration, because when you try to get in there, it's what's the word for that? It redirects you to the login page. But this one actually works. So for that, for getting into the system, we're going to create a new user. We're going to call it admin7 at Gmail. I'm going to use a generic password. So when I do that, I get into the system and I'm able to get into the administration section. I still have some problems here and there, but I will to fix them in the future. Right now, for example, I can delete admin number 2 entirely. It's not there anymore. I have 7 elements. Let's read again. And we will have 6. I also can take a look to the details. I can go back. I can edit user 978. Let's see if it works. It's not working right now for some reason. I still need to fix that. I can also create new users, but the problem is somewhere here in the username assignment. Also, in this case, when I go to the account settings for the user, you can see that I have these options. Password change is working. It's currently working. For example, let's see. Validation, front-end validation works. So if I use my actual, this is my password, I can change it to something else. Oops. This one is working, but I don't remember if it's going to log me out if I do it. But firstly, before doing that, let me show you the other options. External logins is not currently working, but I have everything in place so I can include it later. Also, phone number is something I need to set up. I have some services in place for that, for the phone number and also for the sending and retrieval of emails. I have them in the same MVC application, following the idea. Okay, I thought they were here. I think I placed them here. So probably I'm going to leave them there. I'm not sure right now, but I have them here just as placeholders to what I will need later, because I will need those for when working with the addition of phone numbers and authentication, and also for emails. I still need to find out what packages I can use for that. Also, two-factor authentication works. That looks like it works, but I'm not so sure. I think it works with the phone numbers, so that's something I still need to find out how they make it work. Also, as you can see, this one section is working, and I'm able to generate these codes, which I can also save to my computer if I want. It looks like right now it's not working. But it worked pretty well in my laptop. Probably it's a problem with the JavaScript I'm using for that. Okay, so let's take a look to the password. Okay, the password was changed, and I'm still in place. So next week I will be fixing all the bugs I can find and problems the system already has. Problems is an Australian television comedy series starring Sam Simmons. Sorry for that. That was my iPad. It looks like it got my voice. So what else? I'm reading my notes. Okay, so that's it for these 2 weeks.